Welcome back to Plug and Play EV. I'm Steve, and you join me at West Quoddy Lighthouse, the easternmost point in the contiguous United States. And it's here that we'll start our road trip all the way across the upper northern areas of the United States, lower 48, over to the other side at Cape Flattery. So huge epic road trip, the biggest we've done yet, about 3,500 miles one way, and it all starts here. So join us on a trip across the United States. Let's go. So this video will function as a dual kind of update on the channel and the start of our cross-country road trip. So we are heading from Lubec, Maine, and then heading all the way across to the northwesternmost point in Neah Bay, Washington, which is Cape Flattery. I believe there's a more westernmost point, but this is the northwesternmost point from the northeasternmost point, and covering all the states in between. So the route will take us across through the usual Midwest regions of Pennsylvania, Ohio, which we're familiar with. Then we'll head into Indiana, over to Illinois, Iowa, a little bit of a camping stop somewhere in Iowa, and then we're heading up to the Badlands, so we'll take the South Dakota route. And after that, still a little bit of planning to be done, but we'll obviously hit the Wyoming, Montana, Idaho kind of region, and then over to the West Coast, Washington. I'm sure we'll hit Oregon, and then figuring out the way back, different route, just to cover some different tracks. So a big long route, we're looking at 8,000 miles at least, we're there and back. So a big trip, lots of camping tests that we'll do on the way. Obviously this will test the infrastructure, Electrify America being a big part of that, given that we still have the complimentary charging, but we'll also hit a bunch of other players along the way, try to get a feel for how the infrastructure is expanding in different regions. Video is also to give you a bit of a channel update, kind of the things we're looking at to do as series. Still got a few series here outstanding that I really want to crack on with, and that's starting to become quite a time crunch, because there's the existing stuff we've already got, like the quick charge sessions, the fortnightly Coast to Coast EVs podcast live stream. The state of EV charging is a big one I wanted to do. We did cover Maine. I have the next one for New Hampshire in the works here, to really kind of map the different pieces of how states are doing individually on their charging plans. And then a bunch of other things I really want to look at. EV charging pricing is becoming a topic. You've certainly got a lot of different networks coming up, so the competition between those and the partnerships that are arising are of great interest. Individual site visits, that kind of thing. And looking at the industry as a whole, see what kind of level of adoption we're getting. So there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of topics to cover, and I'm starting to think about how we can make that happen in a more regular, consistent cadence of videos and other content. Which brings me on to a possible way to do that, which is a company I've been talking to called Oversubscribe. This is a platform that helps you project manage investment in the channel to find resources to you can get more videos produced, put myself in more of the footage and filming role, and get other resources in place to make the videos, get them out on a more consistent basis, and also have viewer requests brought in. So Oversubscribe comes into this as a potential way to get people who are really invested in the channel and really want to see the content kind of expand and move out into specific areas, get those voices heard, start to make those projects happen, and make the series that we're talking about, but also new series, new coverage of different EV topics, make that happen in a way that's consistent consistent and reliable. So at this stage, Oversubscribe is just in the kind of audience interest phase, just trying to figure out who would potentially be interested. This is different to something like a Patreon or the kind of supporter platforms that I've not really been into in the past. This would be more investment in the channel and then being able to take out a certain amount of returns that would be decided at a later date. At the moment, you can go down to the audience interest poll. We're just going to get a feel for what the project is, give you some information on how it would support the channel, how that investment flows to creating new videos, getting more series out there, and creating the kind of content that you want to see. So there's a link down in the video description here, and I'll put one in the comments. So take a look at that. Definitely just click through, read through the kind of proposals, the ideas that might come, and let us know roughly whether this would be of interest or not. It's really just a way for me to gauge kind of whether this is a platform that would be helpful for the future of the channel, or if there is other ways we need to look at growing the content. In the meantime, I'll finish up by covering the trip down from Lubec, Maine to Boston, what kind of mileage that involves and where you can charge, and then we'll move on to the next part of the road trip. It's worth noting here that these are relatively slow roads. You're on Route 1, variable speed through different towns, down to 30 at some points, up to 55, 60. At that point, you're saving some energy, your efficiency looks pretty good. So we were around 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour at that point, which for this vehicle is pretty good. You're looking in the summer at more like 3 miles per kilowatt hour for us in the all-wheel drive version of the IONIQ 5. So there's lots to see down there, lots of ports towns. You have Rockport, which is home to that Nevi Tesla supercharger, which is a useful facility, but the town there itself is really nice as well. Nice, really picturesque port town. Lots of different ways to come back from that eastern coast of Maine all the way over to I-95. And obviously if you linger in somewhere like Bar Harbor or the Acadia National Park area, there are some destination charging options that you have there. And then once you pass that kind of first 200 miles piece, you're onto I-95, so you're heading down through towns like Augusta. Freeport is around there. That's the home of LL Bean, so if you're into outdoorsy stuff and want to check out the kind of HQ there, you can do so there. There are chargers there. I think Rivian has one either in there operational now or going live very soon. The Tesla supercharger there and some destination chargers, so plenty of options there. And then heading further south, you still have those really good installs on the service areas in Kennebunk South and North. Those have two of the ChargePoint Express Plus units, again, as we saw up in West Gardner. You've got those looking at around 200 kilowatts worth of power, then two more CPE 250s on both sides, so a decent amount of stuff there. To be aware that as you come out of that Arcadia kind of Route 1 area, your efficiency is going to go down by virtue of doing higher speeds on the interstate. But that brings you down into a little bit of coastal New Hampshire, around the Portsmouth area. You get some time to go through New Hampshire over the bridges there. Some beaches if you really wanted to stop, but there's a lot of beaches all the way up and down that kind of Maine coastal route, and then down into Massachusetts as well. So some opportunities to stop there. You have Greenwave electric vehicles in Northampton, New Hampshire, if you're looking to browse some interesting EVs, used EVs, pre-owned, including plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. So a good place to have a pit stop and look at what they've got in stock. And then you're heading further south into Massachusetts, which is then moving to the Newburyport, Greater Boston area, down into Boston proper. So we live here again, so that's not going to be somewhere we linger on this trip. That brings us home and starts us on the journey west. But that's around 350 miles, the first part of the trip in, and we're looking at an efficiency there with the mixed bag of higher speed interstate driving and slower coastal road driving of around 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour. So not bad at all, good efficiency, lots of nice sights, and it's a place that you could certainly linger if you want to. We're just connecting it up for this route to go from the easternmost point in the US to the northwesternmost point. the 150 kilowatt unit, so no worries, still 13 minutes to 80%. Got our shopping to do, get a restroom break and a coffee. We'll be on our way to New York and Pennsylvania, and charging with a Volvo XC40 Recharge, a Chevy Bolt EV, and a Cadillac Lyric. So these are still busy, but not as busy as they used to be, this place, because it does now have Hartford, Connecticut. So we got this one to the east, and then one at the Bank of America in downtown Hartford essentially, and then another one that recently opened at Rocky Hill, Connecticut, which is I think some kind of retail outlet, but that's got 6 of the new stations, so a little bit more spread out, dispersed some of the action for anyone who's on a free charging plan or who's just traveling north-south. You got one that you can use, traveling east-west you can use this one. So just one of those places where Electrify America has added some redundancy and starting to see a little more usability out of the locations. I think everything is online here as well, could be wrong, I don't know. First one, the Chademo, it's usually the way it goes, is out of service, everything else is in. So you got 5 usable stations, 3 EVs charging. Location is a little tight, packed in, and it's kind of in a driveway of a bit of the Walmart, so it's not ideal, but the 6 stations is good. So a solid 4 to 75–76% in 18 minutes. Came in low, not too bad. Thank you sheets for the squeezies. Got the windows cleared. And BZ4X, doing BZ4X things. Charging at 25 kilowatts from 80%. Who knows what that's about. No free plans, they get plans on EVgo, but I can't remember what was here as we pulled in, other than there's a Rivian on this one that obviously finished, someone else on this one, now we've got the 2 of us. So this area, State College, doesn't have too many options, and we're still waiting for a lot of those I-80 corridor Nevi sites to come online, but there are a few dealerships around here. This didn't give you any juice, but you've got the trash cans now, squeegees, 2 stations serving 4 stalls, so nice, getting the amenities. There's your power cabinets and some end caps, and yeah, just uneventful day at the charge station. The first time for auto charge for a while, so let's see if it works. That was quick. First time at a canopy site, all looking good. It's about 5 seconds to payment authorized. Checking cable safety. It's about a 40-50 second activation. 16% state of charge, and I think the cost here is per minute, bizarrely, as most of Pennsylvania is per kilowatt hour, but we'll see. 45 cents a minute should actually be pretty good with the IONIQ 5, but see what this ramps up to, use the facilities, and go from there. Do have trash cans, no squeegees in this one, but got the big long truck one, so can use that, and the bucket. Actually treated better than the diesel pumps. This is by the minute, so we may as well head out. 81% already, 16 minutes, 51 kilowatt hours. Just enough time to go to the restroom, squeegee the windows, and get back on the road. Very impressive. Good kit. Nice stop. The Flying J is not the nearest, but it's pleasant enough. Facilities are decent. Doesn't have final cost, but you can round it up to 17 minutes, times it by 45 or 48 cents, whatever it is, and we were from wherever we were to 82% in 17 minutes. Very good. this one's online. So 2 active of the 4. And this one's just dead, so not quite as impressive. But nonetheless, this has cranked up. And 13 minutes and full power is all we need. But definitely one of the Electrify Americas that would be in the camp of not so great and why people complain. So quick update here from Cambridge, Ohio. Successfully in today from Pennsylvania and very briefly through West Virginia, which I didn't even know was on this route, but apparently there's a bit of a panhandle. This is actually the first site that I would call a bit of a mess for Electrify America, certainly, because it has 2 of the 4 dispensers offline. So one's dead this side of me, and the CHAdeMO handle is unavailable with its CCS as well. So no action for Nissan Leaf owners here, and only 2 available stations at what is one of only really not very many stations in this area. You do have a bunch heading over to Columbus, that's about another 50-60 miles. But road trip's smooth so far. We've got about 1,000 miles on the clock now, all told, with the extra that we did up in Maine, and we've been averaging 3 miles per kilowatt hour. So all charging stops have been pretty much seamless, plugged in first time. Nicest one has been that one prior to this, over at the Pilot Flying J just south of Pittsburgh. That was canopy, and everything's so nice that my wife didn't even realize that was the EV chargers. We just pulled in a little bit, she was looking to the sides, looking outside the canopies, and that was actually brand new install, and looks good. So pretty happy so far, no problems at all. Heading on to Indianapolis for a hotel this evening, and then further west. Getting into these older stations that haven't been upgraded yet, that's where we start to hit the problems, perhaps. The lady in the Bolt next to me is on the phone with support, although that could be her funds, because it sounds like she's negotiating payment. So no big deal, it's number 3 down, and that's kind of the old thing about Electrify America that people don't like, and maybe this is where it comes down to where you are in the country, because, you know, we've been able to get across 3, 4, how many states was it? 4 or 5 at least, and no problems, started up first time, all of the kind of 3rd and 4th generation hardware. Plugging in first time, no problems. But then you start to get to these older stations where it's all the stuff they put in 2019, maybe 2018 in some cases, and it starts to get clunky again. So you can see why they've kind of really ripped and replaced a lot across the country. 1st generation hardware just kind of not doing its thing as well as you would hope. I think this was the case when we were here last time as well. I think 5 were online, and there was a lot of just, you know, shuffling around, people confused, not sure what to do. So that is the bad old days of Electrify America, and we'll see how much more of that we come into. We get into country in the Midwest, whereas a lot of these kind of stations with the old hardware. We'll see how that goes, but still getting here, and obviously we got our juice, so we'll let it crank and hit the restroom for the final part of the trip. And this is Western Ohio, for anyone not too familiar with Ohio. Still familiar territory, and we're only heading to east of Indy this time, so I think it's about there, maybe 100 miles or so.
Quarter mile, use the left 2 lanes to turn left onto the I-70 West ramp.
Okay, good morning. We arrived in last night at 28% with 54 miles remaining. Slightly improved efficiency there from the low of 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour. Eastern Ohio, Western Pennsylvania, and a lot of energy going to battery cooling, about 3 or 4% at one point, as well as the climate. Still less efficient than the 3.3 we were up to in the slower roads up in Maine and around the slow going getting out of Massachusetts. But today we're heading out of Indianapolis. This is the east of Indianapolis, heading through the city and then over to Illinois and Iowa to camp at Ledges State Park,